Okay, so let's begin. This morning we're going to do, as we usually do on the Wednesday, the self-care meditation. And we all need self-care, don't we? We all need to look after ourselves because we need to look after ourselves so we can look after others. It's very hard to function effectively in the world if we're not feeling good about ourselves. Or at least if we're not feeling just okay about ourselves. We often go around spending time criticizing ourselves and beating ourselves up, feeling inadequate in some way. And of course, we feel confident and positive some of the time as well. But today we're looking at the parts of ourselves that feel they just need some love and some attention. And I've been talking this week about the big mind and the small mind. This sort of metaphor for our minds, and it is a metaphor. It's our minds are very complex, and you can't just pin it down to big mind and small mind. But it does help us understand what happens in the mind. I think we mustn't take it literally, but it's a good idea to just it helps us to see what happens. So in this concept we have a small mind, which is the chattering mind. It just never stops. It's always complaining, commentating, remembering, planning, getting anxious, getting worried, getting fearful, and so on. And then behind that, always there, always noticing what's going on, is the big mind. And you could call this awareness. And awareness is always with us. And awareness doesn't exist as a thing. It's just our conscious knowing of what is happening right now. It's our conscious knowing of what's going on right now in this moment. And we don't need to think about it in the big mind because we know it. We can experience it. We are part of it in a way. But the big mind gets obscured by the small mind, by all these chattering thoughts. So we don't notice it so much. So meditation is about allowing the small mind to just settle and be a little bit calmer. And then we can really guide our lives through the big mind, through this knowing what's happening. And the big mind can think as well, incidentally, if it wants to, but only if it wants to. So we're looking at, in this self-care meditation, we're relying on the big mind to help us. When I talk in this meditation about being our own best friend, this is the big mind. This is our awareness, standing back, just being an observer to all the pain that's happening in the small mind. And when I talk about that being a parent or being a grown-up to our own small child, inner child, I'm talking about awareness, seeing the suffering that dates back to our younger lives when things happened to us and made us fearful and gave us a sense of perhaps not being quite up to the job. And when I talk about soothing our inner critic, I'm talking about our big mind, our awareness, noticing that we just constantly carpet ourselves and helping us to stop doing that. So we are not our small minds. This might be very difficult to understand, but our small minds are just habits from the past. And they come about just through what's happened to us in the past, our conditioning. And if our small mind was us, if this chattering mind was who we are, we would be able to stop it, wouldn't we? And we can't. But the big mind is who we are. It's much more who we are. It's It's the essence of who we are. So we're using this big mind to actually help us to care for ourselves much more than we usually do. And just to remind ourselves that we need to care for ourselves. So that's what we're going to do today. So we'll get on with it. So good morning to Michelle and Christine, and hi to Hayley, who is taking part as well. Hello, Hayley, Christine's daughter, and Lizzie. Good morning, Lizzie, and oh, Karen, I've already said good morning to you, but I'm pleased to hear that there's no wine today. No wine with an H, not wine without an H. Okay, so let's begin. And we'll begin, as always, by just settling. Just settling down, taking our time, being gentle with ourselves. Just noticing how we are. I'm a little bit excited because I get excited talking about these things. So I can just notice that and allow it to settle. So whatever's going on in your mind and your body, just being with it and accepting it in a patient way and just allowing it to settle. Maybe taking a few deep breaths may help. And noticing the contact with whatever you're lying or sitting on. So it might be the bed all the way along your back. It might be the floor, similarly if you're lying on the floor. Or if you're sitting on a chair or a cushion, the sensations will be in your bottom and maybe your feet or legs if you're on a sitting cross-legged or kneeling. I'm just feeling that contact with the ground. A sense of the earth holding us, sense of gravity holding our weight. And we don't have to do anything, we can just give up, just let go. This next half hour, we've got nothing to do, nowhere to go. We're just going to be, in a way, allowing our big mind, our awareness, to notice what's happening in the small mind, our chattering mind. We might bring our attention to the breath. As always, coming into the body and leaving the body. Just allowing the breath to be natural, to be what it wants to be. Maybe you notice the quality of the breath. It might be fine or coarse. Each breath might be quite long or quite short. It doesn't matter, just observing whatever the breath is, and then however it is, it's fine. And noticing the breath in the body, in the upper body, the chest, the sides of the body, and the upper back. All these areas expanding on the in-breath, and then contracting and relaxing on each out-breath. So on each out breath, just letting go. Allowing your body and mind to just relax. Just letting go, being easy, just softening the whole of your being on each out breath. And bringing our attention to the base of the rib cage in the middle. And just behind here is the heart center. The place where we feel our emotions. Our body, mind. Our heart center. Chitta. Just noticing how this feels, just behind the bottom of the rib cage in the center. Can you feel any warmth there? Emotional warmth? So you might like to bring to mind somebody that you really, really love, and maybe a person or a pet. Just bring them to mind in any way you can. Just noticing what happens in the heart center. You might notice a warmth, a really joyful feeling, a loving feeling. And if you can, just allowing that to evolve and radiate through the body. If you can't feel any such thing, then just staying open to it, not trying too hard. And in the first stage of this practice, we're going to just reflect on ourselves, on how we feel about ourselves. We're such complex human beings. There are bits of ourselves that we like, which is great. And there's bits of ourselves that we don't like very much. And these bits that we don't like fall into two parts. There's the bits we can't change, that we don't like, and there's the bits that we can change. So can we first of all have a sense of kindness and acceptance to the bits we can't change? They may not be how we'd like to be, but they are who we are. They're part of us. So can we learn to love them? Just as we might love a friend who isn't perfect, just as we might love a child who isn't perfect, or a partner who isn't perfect. Just loving the bits of ourselves that cause difficulties for us and that we can't change. And then taking note of the bits of us that we can change. Maybe the way we get upset or the way we get angry. Sometimes the way we talk in ways that aren't helpful. Just these habits, maybe our habits of craving things or trying to avoid things that we don't like. And these are all habits that we can change, but we need to be patient with them. We need to accept that we make mistakes, we cause ourselves pain, and sometimes we embarrass ourselves. And just learning to love this being behind that that's doing their very best to live their lives. Just remembering to love and care for this tender being that's doing its best in the world. And if we can do that, it will help us to change. It will help us to become more and to act in ways more as the way we want to act. So for a few moments, just having a sense of love and care to those bits of us that we can't change and to those bits of us that we'd like to change. So in the second part of this meditation, we're going to remember how we can help ourselves to care for ourselves, how we can be our own best friend. So it's life can be very difficult sometimes. We create a lot of suffering for ourselves by, in our small mind, in our chattering mind, by constantly overthinking, constantly telling ourselves we should have done better, we're not good enough, why did they say that to us? Being upset, reacting, being frightened, and generally finding life difficult sometimes. So when life gets difficult, can we step forward with our big mind, with our awareness, and just notice what we're doing to ourselves? Can we notice how we cause ourselves extra pain on top of whatever happens by overthinking? Can we be our own best friend? Can we care for ourselves when life is difficult, when our small mind is creating painful thoughts? Can we give ourselves love and care and kindness and help ourselves through difficult patches? Can we be our own best friend? And can we seek out and care for the child within us? The sense that we're not good enough sometimes, the sense of feeling inadequate, this worrying part of us, the part of us that maybe sometimes feels it doesn't fit in, just like a small child, small anxious child, worrying about fitting in the world. So can we be a grown-up to our own small child? Can we recognize this small child and care for it? Hold its hand, put our arm around it, hold it close, reassure it, help our small child to grow and to become more confident. And keeping hold of the small child's hand, looking after him or her, can we find our inner critic, the part of us that is constantly carping, constantly commenting and criticizing that we could have done better, that we shouldn't have done that. And this voice might seem quite harsh, but can we notice that this inner critic of ours is a little bit like the small child, quite worried about how we fit into the world, being okay in the world. So can we help our inner critic too to feel more confident? Can we soothe our inner critic? Reassure it that everything is fine. We know what we're doing. And we may make mistakes, but we learn from them. And we are doing our best. So just encouraging your inner critic to be supportive of that. Giving the inner critic love and kindness as well. So finally taking in the whole of ourselves again. Just noticing the bits that we don't like about ourselves that we would like to change, and the bits about ourselves that we can't change, that we don't like. And maybe if we can be a good friend to ourselves, be a grown up to our small child, and soothe our inner critic, then maybe that will help us to accept the things that we can't change and to change the things we can change. So can we be our own best friend? Can we have a sense of being our own best friend? Can we get to know the small child inside intimately? Just get to know what this child needs and to look after it. And can we notice that our inner critic is frightened as well, scared that we won't fit in the world? And can we help it to feel more confident, this part of us? And can we remember to be aware that we are an ever-evolving being, that each moment is a new start, and that whatever happened in the past is in the past. Each moment we can start again to care for ourselves, to love ourselves, to accept ourselves just as we are right now. And can we take encouragement from the fact that every other person in the world, every single one, has the same sort of inner life as we do. Very, very similar. Everyone in the world, whoever they are, needs to be their own best friend. Every other person in the world has an inner child that needs looking after. And every other person in the world has an inner critic that they need to soothe. So as we end this meditation, can we have a real sense of compassion for ourselves, for the suffering we cause ourselves in our minds, and for all other beings in the world, all other people, 7.5 billion of them, all pretty much acting in the same way. So can we have a sense of support, not just for ourselves, but for all those people around us, everyone that we come into contact with through each day. Can we open our hearts to ourselves and to the whole world? So I hope we can do that. We're all working on that, me included. So during the day, can we try and remember? Can we try and be aware from time to time, mindful, that we need to give ourselves love? When we make a mistake, when we embarrass ourselves, when we do something that we don't approve of, can we just be softened to our response? Just have a sense that we are doing our best, and maybe we can learn from what we've done, but for now we're just human. We just make mistakes. We just say the wrong things and do the wrong things and get carried away and so on. So can we remember through the day to care for ourselves and to be kind to ourselves? Hope so. I hope we can. Okay, that's it for this morning. I'll be back again tomorrow with mindfulness of breathing on a Thursday. Just and again talking about the small mind and the big mind. Oh, and hello to Sangha Ketu. Good to have you with us, Sangha Ketu, and to Chris that joined us a little bit earlier on. Very nice to see you all, and have a really nice day, and lots of love to you. Bye for now.